Now, welcome to the second part of this week's LFC Delaware podcast. We're joined by Cathy Long, got Sean, got Tim, got Charlie as usual, and we are going to talk. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to got some announcements, a couple of announcements. Well, bear with us because we're going to get in and talk about some of the hot topics on our Facebook group this week. A lot of stuff going on. Obviously, the Reds played. We're recording this on Sunday, August 23rd. The Reds played against Stuttgart yesterday. The fixtures are out. And this weekend, I guess 2019-2020 season actually finally ends with the Champions League final later today. But before we get going, what are we going to talk about? Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, we have a dedicated channel for our YouTube show now. So what we could use is likes for this podcast and part one, like for Cathy. That's the main takeaway. Also, subscribe to the channel. You'll get updates when we post new things, and it makes us look like we know what we're doing a bit more. And then maybe share it with another red, or a blue, if you really want to rub something in. Do all the things.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Not too many blues, though. I might end up with some comments we need to be deleting. Anyway, so next weekend, so August 29th, Community Shield is on, 11:30. There will be the possibility of watching the game outside, weather permitting, at Catherine Rooney's. Delaware Avenue in front of the pub is closed off, so there'll be socially distant seating, lots of rules around masks, but there will be a chance to watch with fellow Reds out on the streets, literally out on the streets. Membership, what do you want to say about membership?
Membership for the 2020-2021 season for OLSC Delaware is open. If you haven't renewed from last year, or if you're interested in joining up and being part of the family, you can email us at lfcdelaware@gmail.com. And don't forget, if you do have an official Liverpool membership, you can link that up, and that will help us with getting access to tickets and stuff throughout the year, should our members want to venture over there, should we actually be allowed back in Anfield. But anyway, so more the merrier. Join up. We got a good following and looking to keep on growing.
So, Sean, you signed up for fantasy football this week. Tell us how we do.
Yeah, so I've actually never done this before in like an organized group, but I've done other fantasy leagues. But so we started a Delaware OLSC mini league in the fantasy football, fantasy Premier League. So if you just go to Fantasy Premier League, you should be able to search for that name under Delaware OLSC. There's also a link on the Facebook group. It's about 3 days ago it was posted. So yeah, just sign up, join, it'll be fun. Like I said, I've never done one that was like at all competitive before, so it'll be interesting for me. And yeah, so keep an eye out for that.
I'm sure we'll get to mention that more as the season goes on.
Yeah.
So, well, we're in a really weird space, aren't we? The 2019-20 season hasn't actually ended. Well, I guess it will later this afternoon. And we're starting the 2020-21 season has begun because they're playing Champions League preliminary games. I thought it was rather bizarre this week that they had on the BBC side, they had a list of Champions League games. And it's like, I don't know, team I've never heard of playing some other team I've never heard of. And then they had Lyon against PSG in the middle of this whole fixture list. Kind of very, very odd. So, but the Reds played against Stuttgart yesterday. Nice 3-0 win. Cathy, did you see the game?
I didn't. Believe it or not, I didn't see the game. I know, I was driving.
Okay.
It was bad timing. So all I've had to make do with was a few highlights, which is really strange. I mean, I'm not big into friendlies anyway, I have to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had to sort of make do with just watching a few little bits and pieces on my phone.
Yeah. I had quite forgotten actually.
No turns.
I've quite forgotten actually how uninteresting friendlies can be.
Yeah. You're making me feel better now. Tell me what I missed.
So we'll go around. Who did see the game then? Tim.
Yeah. I saw the second half. I had to do a bit of work for the first half as well. I was waiting for a phone call, and of course the guy called 5 minutes into the start. But I did get back in time to see Rian Brewster's goal. I know we often talk about Rian and how we're not really sure how he's going to fit in or if he's going to fit in the plans of the club in the future. And I thought he looked like he was moving better than I've seen him look. Certainly towards the end of his season at Swansea. So I still have hopes for the kid. I think his attitude's great, and I love him as a player. I thought he looked really good playing with Harvey Elliott. So that was one of my big takeaways. And then also our friend Kostas Tsimikas looked like he's been there for years, except for one notable moment where James Milner disagreed and thought that he did the wrong thing and just very loudly dropped him an F-bomb right in front of the camera, which is makes me love Millie all the better.
Did you see his Instagram post? He says, "I got caught giving the new guy a warm welcome. Sorry."
That's the captain I want right there.
Right.
Don't leave any questions.
Yep.
So anyone see the first half?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing. It was interesting. It wasn't a very good camera angle to see it. What did strike me from that camera angle is how tall Virgil van Dijk is. I mean, he literally is head and shoulders above everyone else. Also, Grujic is very, very tall.
Yeah.
And Billy the Kid, it was a monster.
He's a giant.
Big, had a few really good clearances and a few really, really good. One towards the end was just a perfect pass up to, I guess it was to Brewster or Minamino. Really made some excellent passes and excellent plays. So that was a really promising thing to come out of it that was unexpected for me. Keita looked very, very good. So did Jones. Interesting that Genie was in the second squad, but I believe the thinking behind that was that because Hendo wasn't available, Genie was going to play the number 6. And so you had Fab in the first half, Genie in the second half. So not necessarily an indictment on Genie about this whole Barcelona / Thiago back and forth, hopefully. Hopefully it was nothing to do with that. Anyway, but yeah, it was impressive. It was a terrible weather. The ground was very poor. There were puddles all over the place. I wondered if they were going to possibly call it at halftime the way Klopp was talking to the referees.
Yeah.
But I think everyone just backed off a bit and didn't quite go in for these sliding tackles because Stuttgart got a couple of guys hurt in the first half. And I believe Sepp pulled a muscle, which is why Billy the Kid came on in the second half. But not sure.
Yeah. Did you see the game, Sean?
No, I just saw highlights, but I guess the one funny thing I heard is that Mo apparently decided it was too wet to be sprinting around, so he was just dropping deep, pretending like he was Javi for part of the match, pinging passes around.
Yeah. So I did see the whole thing kind of with one eye on the because it was a preseason game, but it was the positioning of some of the players was weird. Like Curtis Jones started off on the right hand side of midfield, but the goal he created, he's like on the left wing. And Salah was, that's a reasonable explanation, but it was like, is this supposed to be this way? Salah sitting so deep? You know, is that kind of how they're going to confuse other teams? Or maybe it was just as simple as he wasn't going to run around in this dangerous.
The pitch did look pretty bad. It was like besides it being wet, it looked like it was just like the grass was a bit long. And I don't know. It looked a little weird.
The one thing I would say is that the goals showed a lot of poise. Like Jones could have crossed first time, but kind of waited till Firmino was open, and then Firmino's flick onto Keita for his goal was just.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to watch for the replay though, because where the camera was, it was like through a group of people, so you couldn't actually see what had happened that clearly.
It was really difficult to pick up a lot of the positioning and so on with that camera angle. That's why you said it was the positioning struck you as odd. I didn't really read that much into it because I couldn't really make it out that well, to be honest.
Yeah. Final word, actually. I thought Minamino looked really sharp. as well. And I think there's a YouTube video of his turns I saw this morning.
That's what I've seen was the video of his turns. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked sharp actually.
Great.
So first game out of the way. 2 more coming up this week. Community Shield next weekend, and then I guess 3 weeks time we start back again at home to Leeds United. Cathy, thoughts about the Leeds game, thoughts about the fixture list in general?
Do you know, there was the weirdest thing when the fixture list came out this week, because normally, for me, the fixture list comes out and it's really, I don't know if it's exciting. It is exciting because it becomes real. You start to look ahead to which games you're going to be able to go to, which away games, what's going to be a Boxing Day. We plan our Christmas around these things. We plan when we're going to meet up with our friends. Oh, we'll go and see so-and-so that weekend. Oh, great. We'll be in London then. We can do this. We'll be in Liverpool then. We'll see my mom. We'll do whatever. And I just looked at the fixture list and was like, oh, okay. Because it actually doesn't have any impact on us, except then we started looking at like the big away games and hoping that they were sooner. Before there are crowds in, and realized that actually that would be better. So then we looked at it in a different context, and it was like, okay, which games are we likely to have when there might be full crowds in, if there are towards the end of the season? I think if anything, that Leeds being an early game, being the first one, probably it's better for us actually that we haven't got 3,000 very excitable Leeds United fans in the stadium. Willing their team on. I think that would have been a very, very big day for them. Feel for them really, but not a lot. And so it's felt very strange actually, because if you're lucky enough to go to the matches, you just see it through a different lens really.
Yeah.
But I've also lately under Klopp, I worry less about like who's going to be fit or who's going to be able to play in certain games, because we have such a good squad.
Yeah. I think that was on full view yesterday, actually, that even though there was Henderson and a few others were unavailable, the team that came out in the second half were completely different. It wasn't a bad team.
I always want Henderson to be fit, because I do think we do notice the difference. And, statistically, you look at when we play without Hendo, and we do seem to struggle without him. But if anything, that I think is something that we need to fix, because we need to be able to play without Hendo, because he's not always going to be fit.
Now he's out. Is it because of the gash on his knee from?
I think so. From
possibly falling off one of those silly scooter things.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too long, is it? From what they've said, so may well back in time for the Leeds game. But yeah, I mean, it's good to be playing Leeds again. It is. I'm still saying that after we've played them, but.
Yeah.
I read a particularly goofy article.
Yeah.
An article where the person was saying that Liverpool need to be careful in that first fixture because Leeds haven't lost an opening day game in the Premier League era. Yeah. So we need to watch out. All we did is win the league 20 points clear last year, but Leeds is going to be our own doing.
When was the last time?
Years ago or something, right?
Well, yeah, that also. They've played 2 and won them both, probably.
And they were also very good for a long period of time while they were in the league. So.
And anyone who's been used to, winning like they have is used to winning.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, it's that can be tricky, playing a team that isn't used to losing.
Yep.
Tough.
Yeah.
There was a piece actually in The Athletic this week. They talked about, kind of Norwich, who had come to Anfield on the back of playing a lot of winning games in the previous season, and how that was probably the worst thing that could have happened to them playing like Liverpool, who ripped them apart for 45 minutes. And the article was basically like, how can Leeds avoid, go like put in a creditable performance rather than how can they win? I think they were not going so far as to suggest that Leeds could beat Liverpool, but they wanted to make sure Leeds didn't leave the place, with their sort of motivation and their sort of their sense of self destroyed.
When the fixtures are done, it is deliberate that the teams that have just got promoted, they try to give them a big game on the opening day. And it's one of the things when I was at the league that I never understood why. Actually, I never really asked why. Because if anything, you would have thought if you were going to be trying to sort that out, you wouldn't have them go to Anfield for their first fixture.
No.
Knock them down a peg or two.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, tell them what they're in for.
It's an easy win for the big club and the promoted club get excited. So maybe it's like good for ratings or something.
Yeah, put them in their place,
So might explain why so many of the teams that get promoted go straight back down, because they're kind of thrown in on day one.
Raise their spirit.
So Charlie, did you take a look at the fixtures? Anything strike you?
I glanced at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing for me is with the condensed season, the fixtures before and after potential tough Champions League fixtures, probably the thing that I figured would affect us most. Look, after last season, so clearly we have the ability to beat anyone on any day, but it's just a matter of with the squad size that we have and how Jurgen's going to rotate for some of these European, where we're playing 3 games in the space of a week. Interesting the Christmas holiday period, a little bit tight as usual. Man United, late? That'd be a nice one to seal the deal on. Yeah, I mean, not a lot. Honestly, the big thing that got me was the postponement of the international fixture. Next week or the week after the Community Shield. So now it's only an international break for the UEFA players. The rest of the world, it's pushed off to coincide with the AFCON in January of 22. And everyone's saying we should be worried about this because we're going to be without everyone except our European players for that period. I mean, surely they would have to make that a full international break and hold the season up for that, that period in January 22, at least for the regular, week or week and a half or whatever they do for internationals. But the thing we have going for us is that Manchester City's lawyers are really primed to beat up UEFA a little bit more. And think of the players they'll lose. They'll lose Bernardo, my favorite, Messi, Aguero. They'll lose all those guys. So let's hope City can do it again.
Yeah. So this is 2022, right? And we'll have Sancho and Mbappe by then.
That's right.
So Tim, any other reflections on the fixtures?
Besides the fact that Charlie said he barely glanced at it and then just talked for 20 minutes. But it was very disappointing to me that we're not playing the Bitters in December, because I love singing that song about, Mane running all around. So I'm still going to sing it at the pub. Don't worry, if we're still there. But yeah, that was the one I looked for. I did see that we are playing at Goodison pretty early in the season, in the beginning of October, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's good, because that's one of those matches just always worries me, just because it's a wild card. They're going to try everything to get us not to be able to win there. Mm-hmm. So I think if that happens earlier on in the season, it potentially won't arrest any momentum quite as poorly as it would have, because we were to have played them in March this year, right?
Yeah.
Or this past season, which didn't matter. But yeah, that's the only one for me. Mm-hmm. Merry Christmas, Everton.
So I confess I didn't pay a lot of attention, but the denseness of the fixture list did strike me, and I think there's going to be a lot of conversation about how to rotate. Mm-hmm. So, Sean, final thoughts on fixtures?
I thought the opening is pretty tough with Chelsea and Arsenal in the first 3, and then, like Tim just said, we have the Derby and the 5th game. So, second, third, and 5th game are all pretty tough. But the run out is actually pretty easy. I think 6 of our last 7 games should be against bottom that you would think would be bottom table teams, other than Man United. So that, I think, that could work out in our favor.
Hopefully, yeah. I thought it was interesting actually that we end up playing Arsenal at home, the 3rd game of the season again. That just seems kind of weird. and I know this for a fact because I was there, which I mentioned off camera before. So looking forward to another 3-1. That would do very nicely.
Yeah.
It's audio.
Yeah.
Louise in defense, we can hope.
What the David Luiz, yes. Although, so maybe we'll wrap up with a round on kind of rumors, and then we'll finish off with one thing we saw this week. So, any thoughts out there on transfers, Cathy, or do you not? You kind of don't care that much.
I care less now than I did, I think, which is always a good sign, I think, because I think when you're stressing about transfers, it's because, when we've had these summers where we've been terrified about who's gonna go,
Mm-hmm.
that's been the worst for me. It's like when you're worried about losing players, and then you think, oh, okay, we're not too worried about losing players, but now who are going to buy? Some of my friends are stressing, and I'm not really, it's more for me about I want to keep Ginny. I don't want him to go, but I think I can imagine the idea of sort of, working closely with Koeman and having a pivotal role at Barcelona, is not an opportunity you might get very often, but whether that's going to happen or whether he wouldn't be interested. It seems like all the Thiago stuff is coming from his people rather than ours. And generally the good signings that we have made, are the ones that have not been talked about beforehand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, the more a transfer is talked about, the less likely I think it's going to happen these days. Because we just pull it out the bag and we just announce. It's like, oh, there's another one, So, but it's nice not to be too stressed about it. I just hope that I'm not being a bit too complacent in thinking that, we don't need to strengthen, because we do need a stronger squad.
Yeah.
We do, particularly in a condensed season like this. We get some injuries. We really gonna, we need strength and depth.
It's nice being on our side of the equation rather than United's side of the equation, where they just talk, mess up transfers left and right, hold out, play hardball, lose another target, and again. At least we just, we don't talk about it until it's done. Since the VVD debacle, they've learned, and they're like, you know what? No. And Melissa Reddy came out the other day and said they are interested, but not unless there's an outgoing. Because Klopp is, he's concerned about the playing time. We have 7 senior midfield players. So that, to me, says that they consider Jones a senior player. Fair enough. I don't see, possibly Milner going to Leeds, but I don't see that he has enough of a role to then be replacing him with someone like Thiago. I really think it would have to be someone like Gini going out. The Barca thing has made it really messy, but that's just a circus over there. There's presidential elections next year. One of the nominees is saying, if I get elected, then Koeman's fired straight away and Xavi's in. Okay, so now Gini's got to be going, well, what am I holding out for? If Ronald's not even the manager, then what good's that going to do me? I don't know.
I think that there's 2 separate things, right, with Wijnaldum, right? One may be what he's being offered and kind of length of contract, and then there's these rumors, and I do wonder whether it's a bit too convenient to have, they've hired a Dutch guy, he's going to look to bring in Dutch players. I do wonder if there's a bit of that going on.
Yeah, that was created by someone in their basement for sure.
Or Thiago, or on Thiago's side.
Yeah.
And journalists have to just, they sort of have to state the obvious in a way.
Yeah.
Because everyone else will if they don't. So they have to write the
Get your name in the headline.
Yeah.
So Sean, last word on transfers.
The only thing that really stuck out to me this week, I think, too much is the fact that, and maybe he's hurt, maybe there's some issue, but Origi didn't play yesterday, which I thought was a little odd. Yeah. Maybe wonder if they're working on something, a deal involving him, but it's just speculation. But I thought it was odd that he didn't play at all. I don't think he's hurt, is he?
I think so. Something recently popped up about him maybe going to Leeds.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it's been rumored that. I've seen a couple times that Leeds may be interested in loaning Brewster too.
Yeah.
But Leeds seem to be linked with like every striker available right now. So
What I can tell you is the commentator, Steve Hunter on LFC TV, did list Origi in the players who weren't available through injury.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is Shaqiri, who did not appear, was not on that list.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if that meant something.
I did see, again, this is just a random rumor, but that Lazio might be interested here since they missed out on getting David Silva. But
we will see.
Yeah.
So let's go to our end piece here, which is one Liverpool thing that caught your eye this week. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Cathy.
Well, I don't know if it quite caught my eye this week, but I was doing what every other self-respecting Liverpool fan was doing this week, which was, of course, celebrating Xabi Alonso Day on the 20th of August. So perhaps I could be accused of living in the past somewhat. But ever since he signed for us on the 20th of August 2014, we have celebrated Xabi Alonso Day.
Oh, I'm in trouble now. We have a member, Tucker, who has encouraged me to do this day in history for LFC, and I've missed that one.
I hope I've got my dates right, but yeah. We've ever since my niece was little, we've celebrated Xabi Alonso Day. But actually, what it did make me think this week was that one of the reasons that Xabi Alonso, that I loved him so much, and a lot of other people did, was that he stood out so much in that team. Mm-hmm. And he was not our only great player. We had Steven Gerrard, we had Jamie Carragher, who I do consider one of our greats. We had incredible players in that team, mm-hmm. but we didn't have a lot of them. And we had other players that we weren't as impressed by. And now people ask me who my favourite player in the team is, and I can't name them. I end up naming the whole team.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think my lesson from this year's Xabi Alonso Day was that hopefully we won't, be celebrating, Trent Alexander-Arnold Day or perhaps VVD Day in January.
Yeah.
Perhaps Van Dijk Day, But
that would be awesome. So Charlie, what thing caught your eye this week?
I'm so tempted to look at either of the Manchester clubs, but you specified Liverpool. So I read an interesting comment, and you have to forgive me. I couldn't find it to look more specifically at it. But since Klopp has been our manager, the mean, median, and mode age of Liverpool Football Club signings is 24 years old. I thought it was pretty interesting. Just the fact that not only is it the average, it's the most often occurring, and it's the middle of the range of ages. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So sorry I can't elaborate any more on it, but there you have it.
So after this, you should go Google 24-year-olds available on a free transfer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Tim, what did you notice this week?
All right. We already talked about Kostas Tsimikas. Delaney the Worst Dog and I came across his Instagram feed today. And when he was introduced, they posted a video of him talking to Klopp on the phone, and Klopp mentioned something about walking his dog. And Kostas said, "Oh yeah, I miss my dog. Can't wait to bring them over." So apparently he's got 2 Shar-Peis that he posts, like every other photo is either a football photo or a picture of him and his dogs. So I have a new favorite player, Kostas Tsimikas, lover of dogs, man after my own heart. So
you'll be in a Kostas shirt next week then. Okay.
Sometimes.
Maybe. Sean, I knew you were away this week. Did that mean you had more time to read stuff?
No, I didn't. I wasn't paying as much attention, but I did hear a really interesting stat, and it was in a discussion about why it's not crazy for us to think that this team can do the same again that they've done the last 2 years, and it's because of our defense. And so we all know how great they are, but I just thought it was just really interesting to see it broken down this way. I guess they only played in 25 games together, our starting back four with Gomez and Allison last year, and 21 of them were before the lockdown. And in those 21 games before the lockdown, the team averaged 2.91 points per match and only conceded 0.3 goals per game, which is pretty unbelievable when you think about it. So if we can keep that back five together, I think we could do it again this year. But that's the health is going to be the key, especially with the fixtures being condensed. But
yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Having that,
talking our chances up.
Yeah.
And having those options for rotating either of those wings these days, those fullbacks, is definitely going to help.
Definitely, yeah. I'm very happy that we got some cover for Robbo, because he's already played a ton of minutes the last few years, and
yeah,
it would be a lot to ask him to do all that again.
So I'm going to close with kind of a piece that I found fascinating that was in the Athletic this week, where somebody had written about sort of Stoke City's decline, and the fact that in the team that got relegated, they'd had something like 7 players who'd played in a Champions League semi-final in the squad, and
Wow.
looking for reasons why. And the reason why it's Liverpool related is these included like Glenn Johnson, Peter Crouch, Shaqiri, obviously, and kind of the center point of it was, how could they have got relegated with the team that they had, especially as you've got now 2 people who were going to play in the finals of the successive Champions League in Choupo-Moting for PSG, and obviously Shaqiri for us. It talks about why they were able to get these people in, but then how they weren't able to put them together in a reasonable team. But interesting piece if you get to check it out. But kind of felt like someone might have been signing players based on Football Manager rather than on the basis of how do we build a proper team. But I'm going to leave it there. Cathy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really awesome to have you on.
Thank you.
And goodbye from us for another week.
Adios.